Well, how did Bill and Rose meet?
Well, Rose lived over on by Elm Creek,
Mm-hmm.
and she was married to. Her parents were Pete and Mary Wordle, and then I suppose through church they'd come to Duncan,
Uh-huh.
and a relative of ours, Hayes, donated that just enough for a church to be built on, and it was a quarter of a mile from the Hayes,
Uh-huh.
from where I grew up. And Wordles would come over for church, and I suppose Bill and Rose met. Well, I know they met that way.
Uh-huh.
And
Bill was farming for his dad?
yeah. He was the only boy, and he had 4 sisters.
Mm.
Of course, his sisters kind of dominated, but his mother, it was Willie. And my mother often tells about how he was a spoiled brat.
Yeah, how so?
Because his mother, everything was Willie.
Well, did they move into the house with everybody else then?
No, they moved. That house isn't there anymore, but Newt Chard used to live in that house. But my dad and my mother built that house. It was about, if you go across country through the pastures, which I tried when I was before I was in school, so I was about 5 years old or 4 years old. They built that house and lived there for a while until one of them died. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But my grandmother, my Grandma Hayes, made my dad promise that he would live on the place.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't a farmer. My mother was, but he wasn't a farmer.
Uh-huh.
He had his eye on every airplane that flew over. He'd watch it until he couldn't watch it anymore. But one time, Gene Chard was my age, and he was swimming in the tank, and I wanted to go swimming, and he said, "Why don't you stay?" Because I went up there with my dad, and I couldn't get my sisters interested in going up there, so I walked across that pasture. I had my bathing suit on, I was carrying a towel, and I was barefooted, if you can imagine walking through.
You can remember this?
And you're 5 years old.
I can remember that. And I can remember those cows and this bull watching me all the way. And I was crying, go away, go away.
Oh.
But I got there, and I didn't tell my folks that I was gone, and all of a sudden they realized I wasn't around, and I can't remember if someone told them where I was. Pretty soon my dad came and got me. I don't know if I got scolded or not. I just know that my mother bought a new dress. She hadn't worn it. And this was before I started school, too. And she had been sewing in the west room of that house, and I wanted to make a doll dress, so I just cut a piece out of the skirt of her new dress.
Of her new dress.
I can remember she was pretty mad. But I made a doll dress.
Well, if Bill wasn't a farmer, how did he make a living?
Well, he had to make a living because he got the cows, and he had registered Herefords, white-faced cows. And, well, he took care of them, but he didn't like to get up in the mornings. My mother would get up at 5 or so, and she would pound on the stovepipe, because the stovepipe went through their their bedroom. They slept upstairs. And Billy, it's time to get up. Yeah. He just didn't like to get up, and he didn't like to go to bed at night. He'd read a lot.
Did he have a tractor, or was he farming with horses?
He was farming with horses, yeah.
Did you have a car then?
Yes, we had a Dodge touring car that had the curtains on the side, you know. Is it called isinglass?
Oh,
for curtains.
I
remember going to midnight mass, and at that time they had mass at midnight one Christmas, and my mother heated us what is called a soapstone. She had a couple soapstones. I have that too, that soapstone. And we had cow hides that they had, or I suppose they were horse hides, to cover up with, and they were nice and warm. But we went to Miller, to midnight mass, and Miller was 26 miles in this old touring car, because I couldn't miss mass, midnight mass. And we were standing, the church was packed, and I was standing with my mother in the back, and this guy came and took me all the way to the front. And I had to sit there, and I was so tired. I'm sure I didn't pray at all.
Wow.
How long was the trip? How long did it take to get there?
Oh, it'd take a good hour.
Yeah.
Because you could go about 20, 30 miles in those old touring
In the
cars.
snow, too.
And that was fast.
Well, when your dad was first there, he must not have had cars at all, right?
Right.
So then
He
how long
quartered
did-
my mother in that buggy
Uh-huh.
that was in the barn,
Uh-huh.
and it was a beautiful buggy, and then someone stole it. She can remember. He had a team of horses that knew his way home, that knew their way home, and he just give them the reins and they'd go home. But he was courting her. He was taking, and she had to go to the bathroom really bad. He must have had to go to the bathroom too, because he got out of the car and walked a long ways, and she said, "I didn't know where he was." So she could go to the bathroom.